Hey everybody, this is David Evans, President of Pick TV Network. We're breaking live with a brand new show. 2024 is here. We're gonna go right to Chicago, which you know everybody knows, Brother O. He's got a hot show on Breaking live from Chicago. Let's go right now. Hey Brother O, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Dr. Evans?
Man, man, we good, man. It's 2024 here. Brand new hot show called Breaking Live with Brother O, live from Chicago. You got a hot guest on, man. So I'm gonna get off the screen and let y'all rock.
All right, all right. Thank you. So, hello everyone. This is Orion Meadows coming live from Chicago once again. This is our first show for 2024, so we're very excited to have our guest here today. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our special guest today, the poet has spoken. I've been knowing him for a while, been a colleague of mine. We have some things in common as far as some of our experiences, but also even our passion. So the poet has spoken. I'm going to let you tell them who you are and what you do. So introduce yourself, brother.
Well, let's get it. I am the poet dot has dot spoken, and the dots is because I hit the spot surgically with the words. Most importantly, I'm a father, a son, a brother, an advocate for mental health awareness. Anybody that is breathing deals with mental health in some type of capacity. So we definitely, especially creatives, man. If you've been watching over the last 2-3 years, it's a lot of high up there like A-listers that have taken their lives because of dealing with mental health. And on the outside, it looks like a person smiling and everything is okay and everything is good in their life. But on the backside, you never know what somebody going through. So we want to touch everybody from the person that's sleeping on the side of the road to the person that's sleeping in the mansion. And that's basically what we do. And we do that through the galaxy of poets and my team, including yourself. I could not be blessed with a better group of people to take a vision and just offer me explaining and saying, you know what, we gonna ride with you. We here. Those that are a part of the galaxy, those that are affiliated with the galaxy, man, look, I'm always blessed and thankful for that.
And we're going to get into the galaxy, but before we get into the galaxy, your name, the poet has spoken. Um, how'd you, where'd that come from, right? What does that mean for people who aren't familiar with who the poet has spoken is? How'd you come
To
up with
sum
that?
to sum it up, man, I speak for everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you believe in, what you identify as, how old you are, how young you are. I speak for everybody, and the things that I speak on is real life situations. Um, Death. I speak a lot on my son's murder. You know, gun violence is something that everybody in the black community deals with, whether you deal with it because it has touched your family or you deal with it because you know somebody that has gone through it. And it's just I feel like that I'm speaking for everybody, and it's how else to do that than to do it as a poet, you know what I mean? And when we speak our poems, we has spoken, you know what I mean? So it just clicked when that name came to me, and I ain't give it to myself. The universe put the bug in my head. You feel what I'm
Okay.
saying? So once I got that name and everybody caught on to it and liked it, and it fits me. It fits my personality. It fits who I am.
Okay. And you don't have to go in depth, but you made reference to your son being lost to gun violence. You learn to explain a little bit
Yeah,
to the people
I
about that.
I don't shy away from talking about that because it needs to be talked about. So my son had been in the streets, and he had actually decided to start to take himself away from the streets. And anybody that knows, that's usually the times when the streets come looking for you, when you start backing up and want to do something different. So it was an old beef, and somebody was shooting at him and his friend. And unfortunately, his friend pulled out his gun to shoot back, and he accidentally shot my son.
Mm-hmm.
So that, that cut a little deeper. I say it a lot of times, and some people understand it, some people don't, but I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. Anybody that you know that's in the streets, unfortunately, at some point it's a possibility that their life can be taken, right? But to be taken from friendly fire, it cut a little deeper. You know what I mean? And I say this not to condone it, but in some states, drugs are so much of a problem that they have centers that you can go to get high with clean needles and all of that, right?
Right.
Why they didn't start showing? Why they didn't start teaching these youngins, these people that that's gonna be in the street? Once again, I'm not condoning it, but teach them gun safety. Teach them how to shoot. Then maybe we won't be having so many stray bullets, children getting killed by stray bullets. Because if it's something that that's gonna happen, while the people fighting to stop it from happening, what are we doing for a remedy right now?
Well, I mean, so with that being said, there are so many other factors in that. First of all, with one being even, how can I say, to be able to carry, right? With that, is that person even permitted to carry legally? That's the first step, right? And then also we know that there are racial aspects to that as well. As far as who they want to have a gun legally, right? So there's a lot to that.
It's layers, bro. It's layers.
Right. So to even get there, you would have to go through 3 or 4 different layers or barriers to even get to that point where something like that would be facilitated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a whole another show when we're talking about this is even being a part of systemic racism. For the gun to be accessible in an environment where it's dangerous, but then at the same time, the guns that are accessible are guns that should not be legal, or rather, the people that are getting them aren't licensed carriers.
Right.
So it's a whole lot to that. So we might even have to come back and do another show on that.
And to touch a little bit on a sidebar note with that, the biggest issue is that they're not being taught value of self. Because if you can't value yourself, you're not going to value another life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So gun issues is a serious problem. You know what I mean? And then we also got how they do the gun buyback with that you won't get into no type of trouble, and they get the guns off the street. Why do they get the guns off the street? Because they know that there's a problem there. But when are we going to start teaching not just the young people, but people, period, that there is value in self? You start teaching that, then it's going to be a lot of things that change on its own.
That's true. That's true. But like I said, there are so many aspects to it. When you talk about valuing oneself, when you look at a community, there's
Mm-hmm.
a book in my office right now that I read many years ago, but it's entitled "Dysfunctional by Design."
Mm-hmm.
Right, by design, and that's it right there. Right, that sums it all up. Uh, so yeah, that's another show or two or three when you're going deep into that
Yeah,
and why.
yeah, absolutely.
Uh, okay, so let's talk now. Let's talk about the galaxy. But first, poetry, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did you first um, discover or your passion for poetry? Or
I've
when did
been
it?
a writer. I've been a writer since 12, 13 years old, maybe even before that. But that's when I know I can remember when I used to write. I've always loved to write. Like I'm a writer at heart. It just comes out more in poetry, but writing novels, movie scripts, I want to get into all of that. But poetry itself, I actually honestly, the galaxy is 3 years old. So I stepped back into writing poetry and performing it about, I would say, 3.5 years ago. But I took a journey on the inside as well. And while I was on the inside, that was one of my go-to things to do was to write poetry. That I found that is the best way that I can get out emotions and feelings, because that pen and that paper not gonna argue back with you. It's just gonna be an ear to listen. But then when three and a half years ago, 4 years ago, when I picked my pen back up, started writing, and then started actually speaking it, and to have those one or two people to come to me and say, "What you said to me helped me," or "I resonate with you with what you said," or I know somebody that went through what you went through, or people saying that I know I'm not alone now that I heard somebody else say it. uh I feel as though now that it's more than just a gift, it's a purpose and something that I have to do.
Um, the galaxy of poets. Let's go to the galaxy of poets, right? For those who do
Mhm.
not know about the galaxy of poets, tell them who or what the galaxy of poets is and where did it come from? Where did the idea come from?
So once again, it goes back to my son. I dedicated this mission to him because of course he dealt with mental health issues as well. And I was in a very bad relationship, a very bad marriage, and I decided one day I decided to leave. I was at my breaking point. I'm like, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I took myself, stayed in a hotel. And anybody that ever stayed in a hotel, you know how loud it is because you have kids, you got people maybe playing music, this going on, that's going on. But that day it was totally peace. Everything was still. And I heard poetry in motion. That's what the galaxy was called before it was called the Galaxy of Poets. And I created a Facebook group. But my mission was always to turn it into something bigger. And as I just would reach out to people and say what the mission is, what this is about, the reason why we here, and the reason why we here, and the reason why it was created, to help those that are going through mental health issues, to let them know you're not by yourself, and to take away the stigma that in this journey I found out, bro, they always say men don't seek help. That's not true. Sometimes we seek it, but we don't get it. And there's a lot of men out there that go through therapy, and they are more emotionally healthy because they did go through therapy. But the stigma is to say, oh, black men don't do this, black men don't do that. So that is a drive in this, and the biggest drive is to keep the memory of my son alive, and to let young people, old people, everybody know, if regardless if you perform it or not, using poetry is a healing tool. So that's what the Galaxy stands for.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. Another question. So the Galaxy, 3 years you say the Galaxy's been around. For those who don't know, once again, what all platforms can is the Galaxy on?
Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, TikTok, across the board. And I'm finding out that it's a lot of other poetry events that go on, like Tag, which I never knew. So we will be transitioning wherever people are enjoying poetry at. We want it to be there, because just like there are people that listen to the radio that don't watch TV.
Right.
So if you want to go after a crowd, sometimes you got to go into the lane that crowd is in so you can touch them. But right now the main ones is Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
I want to go back to something that you said. That you were talking about being in a relationship that was kind of tumultuous, and you decided to make the decision to step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that's very difficult. And what I've noticed, and this has been going on for a while, obviously, but lately I've been seeing in the news that there are couples who they have an argument, disagreement, or whatever, a domestic violence incident going on. And what happens is that one of the parties is up calling the law enforcement, and it ends up having a tragic ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about what could have happened that could have prevented that even getting that far,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, that's not the first time that the couple had an incident in a relationship where things might have gotten or might have blown out of proportion, but people stay around, and then it ends up ending in a tragic way, whether it be a person getting arrested, a person getting hurt, and sometimes we're starting to see more and more that people are actually losing their lives. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give to someone who is in a tumultuous relationship that could help them make a wise decision?
I would say the most important thing, you got to learn to choose yourself. Once you start choosing yourself, you'll be able to make those hard decisions, because this is the thing, right? Just because I choose me doesn't mean that I love you any less. But if two broken people, there's no way that two broken people can fix each other. And if I'm on a path to getting therapy and that person is not in therapy, there's no way that either one of us could heal. And a lot of people always ask women. In my case, and I speak on this, a lot of my things I make sure that I speak on. In my case, it was an abusive relationship, but it wasn't abusive from my end. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of women are always asked, well, why you didn't just leave? Just leaving is not always easy, because even though it's a bad situation, comfortability is what is the thing that make people stay the most, because you're
Right.
comfortable and change. But when I got to the point, and I've been taught self-control from a lot of people, and in a lot of those situations I had to have self-control. But the last time that I knew that if it was another time, I would lose my cool and I would do something to take myself back away from my children and hurt somebody that I wouldn't want to hurt. So that's when I knew that I had to leave. When you know that you're coming to that point of violence, you need to leave, woman or man, because everybody has a breaking point.
Right.
You cannot know a man should not hit a woman, but a woman should not hit a man either.
Right.
But every single being has a breaking point, because it could be if a woman put their hands on a man child unjustly, are you going to have restraint? Sometimes you just don't know what position you're going to be put in. So if you're coming to that point, and at the end of the day, like I told her one day, I said, you know what? If you got to put your hands on me, that means it's time for you to leave. Because the moment that it becomes physical, we need to go our separate ways. Because we done seen too many times that people lose their lives from those situations. You know what I mean?
And we know that domestic violence, right, abuse, it occurs in every community, but especially in ours, frequently. And it's not just males, it's women as well, right? But why do you think that society chooses to turn a blind eye when it is the man who is the victim of abuse?
Because that's how society been built. Society been built that it's not possible for a woman to take advantage of a man. It's not possible for a woman to abuse a man. It's that's how society's been built. So, and then if a man walk into a police station and say, I was abused. Now, I'm not going to say this about every single last one of them, because I've seen it with my own eyes when the woman was the aggressor and the man didn't do anything and the police locked her up. But majority of the time, they're not, their mentality, because of what society has taught us, there's no way that this woman did anything to you physically. It had to be you. Right. You know what I mean? And then what we was taught as young boys growing up, stop crying like a little girl, don't be a punk, all those lines to take vulnerability away from a man. And then we get older and we in these situations where a woman is physical. That society has taught us that we're not going to get no help. So we're not going to say anything anyway. So being as though that is so hush, that's what leads to us not getting help. But on the flip side, there is help out there for men. We just have to seek it.
Right. And having this conversation has made me think of a few things. First, and I'll say this quickly. So I knew a guy who was in an abusive relationship, and he was he was a big guy, you know, he could take care of himself, but he stayed in the relationship for a while. And what happened was the woman, he stabbed him and he went into shock. Right? She had, you know, it was, he talked about it like, we used to always have incidents and, you know, she would hit me and stuff like that, but he stayed around. And then eventually she stabbed him and he went into shock. And so the shock, after going into shock, after being stabbed, you know, he really like kicked her to get him off of her. And so what happened was that he ended up doing internal damage, causing internal damage on her organs just by kicking her off because he went into shock.
Mm-hmm.
So she passed. And, you know, it was an unfortunate incident. He ended up getting 6 years probation. They found him guilty for something like manslaughter or something. But anyway, he ended up getting years probation. But it was that's a situation where he could have prevented that had he walked away at the right time. And a lot of times we think that we can handle it, we can deal with it because we're men. And then sometimes just even not wanting to be embarrassed or humiliated, feeling like you're weak, that you can't stand up and take that. So that happens sometimes with a lot of men in relationships like that. But then even thinking about, as you were talking, I thought about like The Color Purple. And The Color Purple had addressed violence and addressed abuse in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out, there was a lot of controversy when it first came out. When Alice Walker first wrote the book, and they put the movie out, Steven Spielberg, there was a lot of controversy. You had people on both ends that were talking, and it made me think about where we are right now, like on social media, where it's like this gender war. You got men over here saying this and women over there saying that, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. And so now what that has done is it's caused a rift, either wider rift in our community, because it's like the women all one end and they're pointing the finger and bashing the men, and then we're retaliating back. And you're just seeing a lot of these podcasts and so forth, where it's one group is set up against another. And so it's even beyond just physical abuse now. Social media is actually used as a medium or platform for people to verbally abuse one another and put out ideologies and opinions, which is just, it's impacting the way that people think and look at one another, especially when we talk about the different genders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, to piggyback on what you're saying, and I say this a lot, you know, the question is always asked, who is the most unprotected in America? And a lot of people say the Black woman. Some people say the Black man. But that's just another tool to keep us separated, because it's us. It's us that went through slavery. You got lashes, I got lashes. You got raped, I got raped. You got this happen, I got this happen. It's not no divide. So if we stop dividing each other and stop always talking, because if I haven't walked in this woman's shoes, in her circumstances, I can't tell her that she's wrong. If she haven't walked in my shoes, she can't tell me that I'm wrong. So how about we actually listen to each other and understand that the Black man and Black woman are the most unprotected in America?
All right, well spoken. And so it's about our time to wrap it up. But I want you to recite a piece for us before we leave. And when you're done reciting the piece, tell them about where they can find the Galaxy and whatever else that you have that's coming up, in any events that are coming up. You're welcome to go ahead and talk about that. So without further ado, we're going to end the show, people. My name is Orion Meadows. It's for the PIC TV network. It's our special presentation. And we have the poet has spoken, the president of the Galaxy of the Poets, and he's going to conclude our program with a poem. for the public. So you had the floor, sir.
Let's talk about The Walking Dead. You see mindless, crazed, heartless beings. That's the same thing I see when I look into society. Dope, got them hung off of getting high's rope. Mindless, not conscious of what they do. Living in their own world, not caring about the constant ridicule. See, they crazed. They only caring about where they get their next hit from, and some flip the script and they heartless, aiming and pulling their trigger at their target, not caring if they hit or miss. Now we got another mother or father grieving over their seed from being a target that they didn't even have a choice in. Hoods infested by zombies, veins infiltrated by dope, noses invaded by coke, whether they snort it or smoke it. And now they bathe themselves in PCP water, and their souls have no hope. Their eyes have no sight to see what is truly their reality. And y'all know mushrooms got them seeing what's not there. But don't you know you a heathen to the one that be preaching, but not following the words of his own tongue? But he'll blindly follow the knowledge that he was spoon-fed when he was young. Come with me as I take you on this journey of the streets of the Walking Dead. See, in their head, they want to be Christ-like, but they don't want to live Christ-like. They even part their lips, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, but the whole time they got their peace, and they want to be upon you. See, everybody got their own view, their own scriptures that they want you to be confined to. And if you don't believe what they believe, then that's when they slander you. This is because the words that you speak is more heavier than their truth. But it is not your fault. They will only reason with the reasoning that's in their head. This is why they will always be the Walking Dead. The poet has spoken. You guys can follow me on Instagram at the poet.has.spoken. On Facebook, it's the poet has spoken. On everything else is across the board, it's the poet has spoken. Most importantly, follow the Galaxy of Poets on Instagram, the Galaxy _of_ poets. Come on and join the mission. Fight for mental health, positive mental health stability, because we all can use it and need it.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing your gift with us. Thank you for your service, being an advocate for mental health, but also being a proponent for the creative arts and using that as a way of being able to heal and find purpose in life.
Absolutely. One last thing, if anybody that's watching this now that watch it later, if you know anybody, any men that do slam poetry, we are having a competition April 20th, 2024 in Nashville, Tennessee. Winner take all, $1,000 is up for line. Contact me on any of my social medias and I can give you more information.
All right, y'all hear that? You guys hear me? Contact the poet has spoken.
Amen. Brother, I'm just so happy, man. You did it again, man. We starting off 2024, man, with a brand new Breaking Live. And that brother put it down, man. I was just in the background, just so proud of him, man. We've been talking about doing a poetry show. Let's get it on, man. The Breaking Live, Brother O from Chicago. I'm pushing him to have his own show, y'all. So y'all gonna see more and more. This dude right there, gonna see him out there doing this thing, man. I'm so proud of you, bro. Oh, I know this show gonna be crazy, beautiful, man. And we on Instagram now live, so we have a brand new audience for the first time with 4K. All of our shows that we can bring on, we have approval to be on Instagram TV, quality folks, and we got people on right now popping on. I want to say thank you, brother. Oh, we got another show, man. So tell people to don't go nowhere. Tell them, oh, brother. Oh,
Yeah. We'll be back. We're going to be back in about 10-15 minutes. So stay tuned. Dr. Evans and I will be back right here on the PIC TV network.
Broken down and tired. Living life on the merry-go-round. And you can't find out why.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle, the Computer Lady. I'm the host of The Importance and Power of Reading. You know what's going on in our society, book banning, and over 38 million children don't have books in their homes. Join me for some exciting segments as we talk about the importance and power of reading with my guest, Dr. Naisha Adams, PhD, on the PIC TV network, Channel 1000.
Hey, my friend, we're coming right back with a brand new show coming on with Brother O from Chicago. Don't touch that down. Instagram, we'll be right back. Thank you for watching PIC TV Network.